Hello everyone, welcome back to DevDive Side Table, where I interview indie tabletop developers and tabletop RPG people and all kinds of people that make the analog games that we love. I'm your host, Steve Fontana, and with me on this week's dive is Cullen McGuire, the creative lead of Heartleaf Games, the wordsmith, as it were, of the Delver's Guide to Beast World, which I am obsessed with. Cullen, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you very, very much. I am happy to be here.
Absolutely. This is going to be awesome. We've been trying to get this done for quite a while now. There was some PAX plague thrown around that, we bumped into each other over there and it's, I bought the book right there. You have a great product, a great world that you've built here. But for those who don't know what Delver's Guide is to Beast World, give people the elevator pitch. What are we going to talk about today?
Sure. So the Delver's Guide to Beast World is we call it a setting and supplement. The front half of the book is kind of, we lay out the setting of the Beast World and all of its kind of places and people and stuff to see. And we basically every page is meant to be a way to kick off a story, with your players in the setting. And then the back half is the supplement. We've got a bunch of new species. We have we're sort of a total conversion mod supplement. So we have all the species that exist in the setting in the book itself. But it uses it's sort of built on the 5e framework, so it uses those classes and subclasses. And then it also has new subclasses, and then the new system, I suppose. The pitch for tabletop players is there is a WAGON combat system. To call it a combat system is not fully even accurate.
It's a little, it's kind of reductive. Like you have so much in there about, capacity. It almost feels like one of those like puzzle games where you're kind of like fitting pieces together kind of thing. And like it reminds me of that. It also reminds me of a toy that I had as a kid. It was like these they were tanks and like ships and stuff, but like they had this weird plastic welder gun that you can actually like weld pieces together and make this like amalgamation of whatever you're imagining, like with all the pieces and stuff. And like you have a system for building these custom wagons and how much they could carry and how they could defend themselves and all this fun stuff. And yeah, I think that's an overlooked part of the content, because what drew me to the content immediately were all the species, because I run a custom setting that I've been using the Humblewood races and species, so like the bird folk and the humble folk and all that fun stuff. And I've been adding some third-party stuff because I love the anthropomorphic animal stuff. So like my whole setting is based on these woodland creatures, and it's just like your imagination go wild. So when I saw this, like I was so relieved, because I didn't have to scour the internet anymore for like a fox person. Although I had a fox person, but like a bovine person or a donkey person, like you have I feel like you have almost everything you could possibly want covered here. And my favorite one,
you should tell my readership that, because one of the most popular things that one of the most popular questions we get is when are you adding such and such animal to the Beast World?
Listen,
people like it. Like
if you put it all out at once, what happens? Then you have nothing else you can put out. Like, come on. But my favorite is the bat. I love. Because I'm Bat Child. That is my internet persona, and I've always been like, I want to make a bat. I want to be a bat person. Like that sounds cool to me. You have like in your setting, it's actually very, very unique. Like you have this astral sort of astral born situation, and the bats are from like this other world, and they're like tethered to it magically and stuff, and like it plays a little bit differently. But for those who are running something like I am, where I'm taking the species out, there's the basic stuff that you can use to plug and play pretty much anywhere, that kind of ignores that part of it, which is fine. I've been having it's been fine. But the stuff that you do have in there that's specific to Beast World is really enticing to make me want to just drop everything and play a game in Beast World. Like the reading about the stuff, because you also have humans in this
Yeah.
world.
Mhm.
And you have like a jackal race, I believe. You also have dragon people in this game.
Yeah.
So it's not just animal races. There's a much larger story happening here in your world. And so as a consumer of your content, yeah, when more, like, just give me, I want them all. I want everything. Like, why would anyone not want more? You know what I mean? Like, it's, of course I want more.
we we're definitely going to do more species in the future. What part of what I usually tell people when they ask me for more species, or when they ask me why there weren't more, like, you could have done more. What I wanted, like 200 pages of them. What I told them was, you you could have 50, 60, 100 species, but I believe that if I was going to do a number of species for the setting, I wanted each one of them to feel fully realized, not only mechanically, though that's definitely part of it, but also as part of the world.
Mhm.
If you play a say like a canine in the setting, I wanted you to have a jumping off point for where they fit, and kind of, I wanted you to feel like you were entering into a setting that was inviting you to tell stories in it, but that had a baseline for you to do so. And there's a spreading out that happens when you have a lot of content. There's kind of a breadth that kind of, I think, maybe robs some of the depth from that.
Yeah.
So it's just about like time and ideas. Like I also wanted every species. I wanted to have a really good idea for a mechanic for every species, because
Right.
I've seen obviously, like, I've done a lot of research about it, and I've seen a lot of anthropomorphic animal species, even from like first party content from Wizards of the Coast. And a lot of it kind of falls into what I would call the trap of, they just represent what that animal can do in relation to humans.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody gets claws, and everybody gets dark vision, and everybody gets scent, because that's kind
That's
of
the
what
thing
we think of as
animals
like an
do.
animal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that those things are cool, and I think that I love that content. I wanted to challenge myself to make it so that even if you weren't a huge fan of that animal, you could read our species and find something interesting. It's actually kind of funny you bring up bat, because I think bat is like one of my favorite examples of it.
That to me is
Because
like hard mode. Like building a character that's a bat, like, is totally hard mode, because you have such a unique. Can I like tell people, like,
sure, yeah, yeah, of
one of the
course.
unique abilities of the bat species is you have this essentially a bag of other dimension.
Yep.
Like, that's basically what it is. It's like a bag of holding, but it's like it's yours, and it's your
Mhm.
connection to this astral you call it the astral sea. That
Yep,
it
the
came
Astro
back.
Sea.
It came back in my brain. Um and that's a character thing. That's not, you know what's the first thing your players look for when you're playing D&D or anything? You're looking for a bag of holding. It's just what you're doing. You're looking for,
Yeah.
you want to just loot everything, shove it in the bag, maybe throw goblins in there, whatever. I'm not judging. Um and this bat species, I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, hold up. Like, by default, I could have a pocket that is tied to
Mhm.
the astral sea that I could shove stuff in and carry with me. And of course, there's wings, giving you a little flight action. And then there's, the echoes, which you do a very unique. It's not just a simple echolocation situation, right? Like, you do something a little bit unique with it, which is cool. But yeah, go ahead. You know, say with the bat. Um,
Well, that's the main thing, is that, like, the bat is my favorite example of kind of uh, adding something more than just the what you'd expect from the animal's traits, or sort of
right.
the stereotypical traits of each animal. For instance, our sheep ovine species can talk with animals. Like, they just all of them can understand what animals say,
Mm-hmm.
and speak back. And it's sort of I wanted to come up with mechanics that wouldn't necessarily affect the problem solving or combat aspects of the game, which is like,
Okay.
those are the two sort of realms of how content could be, quote, broken. Is like, if it trivializes a combat scenario or if it trivializes a problem solving situation, then the quintessential example is flight. Like, flight changes problem solving in combat a ton, like
Yeah.
way more than people even realize, I think. uh
Oh,
and
I've sorry to cut you off, but almost every game that I play, a DM just straight up bans uh species with flight.
it's
and
tough, yeah.
and it's hard to balance for, and like you also don't want to take away, you don't want to build your combat or your encounters around the fact that you're trying to gimp one character.
Yeah.
And so if you picked an Arakocra, for example, and you because you want to fly and drop, throw spears or throwing knives or whatever from above, and your DM just keeps putting you in 10-foot tall dungeons because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to deal with your flight and whatever, like that feels really bad. Like it doesn't feel right. And what Humblewood does is none of the bird races can fly. They all have like a glide mechanic where if they're a certain
Yeah.
height, they could glide, a certain distance, which is a mechanic in D&D as far as the simic
Mhm.
species. You can have like those little manta wings or whatever, and like
Yep.
so it's in there. It's something that you can do. But what you've done is you've taken little bits and pieces and made them a unique part of a species as opposed to a unique part of a class or something that you would have to do or a feat you might have to get to make that a unique character. You
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a and the sort of to talk about the motivations for that, because that's something that people have brought up. I read a review of the book a couple years ago that brought up how the species in the beast world have a little bit more. You get a little bit more from your species
Mhm.
than you do it from like a D&D setting. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's probably not a secret that, like, the furry fandom is a big part of our readership. And what draws a lot of people to our book is like, oh, I can represent my character in D&D. That would be so cool. So I wanted to make sure that like everybody got something to define themselves with the
Okay.
animal that they like, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just sort of like a little bit of many facets of the design philosophy behind the book. But yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's such a cool take on character creation because it's a little bit more than just species creation because you kind of think about one of the things that happens in like vanilla D&D or whatever is certain species become the species of a class, or certain class
yeah,
becomes the class of certain species, where it's like, oh, you're making a Goliath, guess what you're not going to be? A wizard. Like it's just not going to happen. You're not going to pick something with all that strength and size and be slinging spells. You're going to put yourself in in the front line. But maybe I would if that big brolic species had, some sort of tether to an astral plane or something to give him that little magical oomph that you could choose to dive into in character development, or you can just have in the background and just be like, oh, he could also do, he also has detect magic as like an innate property. So it's just something that he can do. He knows when magic's around or whatever, without
yeah,
having to like spend levels on figuring that out, or multi-classing or something like that. Making you could truly make something with these species that you want to be. Like it makes it a lot easier. I love the earth sign. I love bears. I love the big bears, and they could be anything. They could be any class. There's no. I don't feel like they can't be paladins or they can't be sorcerers or whatever. Like I feel
yeah.
like they could be whatever. The way they're made. It's just it's really balanced. I do like it a lot. I think you guys did a really good job. I'm just started my first adventure with using your species as part of my
Yeah, really.
game. So we're actually doing a session 0 next Friday. Everyone's making characters already. We have a possum that's been made.
Awesome. Great.
We have a canine. One of my players actually wrote to me, was like, I I would die for my dog. My dog is my service animal, and I love my dog so much. I cannot wait to be my dog. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, whatever your service animal is there to do, your service animal is gonna do that in this game. That's gonna be
Cool.
their mission in life. If it's a medical alert, or if it's for anxiety, whatever, we're gonna figure out a way to make it work. But like, just having the option was the thing that this person clung on to.
Sure. Yeah.
So like, I'm infinitely grateful. But there is something else that I think you did that I think may be the smartest thing I've ever seen done in tabletop RPG creation ever. And I want so many more of it, but I'm gonna be nice. But
Okay.
these deck of delvers that
Yes.
you did is an absolute godsend as a DM that makes way too much shit up on the fly.
Yeah.
Having a deck of fully realized folks, NPC characters that even if you're playing in a homebrew game or a D&D module, they have full stat blocks on the back. I'm going to show you one of the cards on my camera here. Full stat blocks, motivations, character art that you could describe to your party of what they look like. This is Rancid Sidril. He's a rat folk. He looks like a vampire. He looks like a real jerk. But there's all kinds of stuff on here, including like a campaign hook.
Yep.
At the very bottom, where it's like, what did Rance pay for his powers? Just a question that you can just kind of like lead your party through, and you could do a whole adventure because you pulled this card out of your NPC deck to just have your players meet in a tavern or whatever, or on the road. And you have everything. You have all their stats. You have everything they could do. They don't have to be combat NPCs, but if your murder hobo party decides to attack the NPC that you pulled from this deck, he can defend himself because he's got attacks and spells and an armor class and everything. It's so brilliant to have this. It makes my life so much easier because especially names. God, DMs
It's really hard. Yeah.
coming up with names on the fly. Sometimes you're just like, this is Crispin Flarkendarst. I'm sorry, what was that, DM? Crispin Flarkendarst. Yep, that's who it is, and he's a fucking goat, I guess. I don't know.
The number of names that I've come up with that are just like me looking at something in the room and then adding a fantasy apostrophe somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. A fantasy tilde. But I mean, absolute brilliant. Like, who came up with this? Like, this is such a great idea. Whoever it did come up with this had to have been a DM that is a Chaos Goblin. Like, that's the only thing I could think of.
So when we did our initial Kickstarter, we were putting together the rewards, and I wanted to really challenge myself to put together rewards that I wanted to own. Like we try not to sell anything that I don't want to own. And a monster manual for NPCs is something that I've always wanted to see, because it's tough. Because one of the cool things I think about the deck of Delvers is they are not character sheets. You'd have to do some extra work to play a character from the deck of Delvers, and that's because they are akin to monster blocks. They have everything that you would need to run it as a DM. But what a lot of people don't realize is that PC sheets aren't quite the same.
Right.
And a lot of our deck of Delvers cards are actually they belong to other people. They are characters from the Kickstarter backers.
Wow, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, one of our tiers was that you could get your character in the deck of Delvers, and
oh my god, that's so cool.
We had long interviews with every single one of these people, where we kind of talked to them about their characters and kind of boiled down what they imagined that character doing. I said, like, forget about your class, like, because we don't have, there's literally not space on the back of a tarot card to do a whole character sheet
Right.
and your bio. So we wanted to boil down what they do, like the cool thing you imagine them doing, and then you turn that into an action. And then that's the sheet. You give them defenses and then you give them 2 actions, and that's it. That's all you need. But the thing is, doing that on the fly, like, I don't need to tell you, like, doing that on the fly is challenging. It's hard. It's hard work to come up with something that's sort of compelling, that feels reactive to what the players are doing, and isn't just sort of, this is how they do damage, but also, like, is balanced. That doesn't lock them in place or rob them of turns, stuff like that. So I kind of did that work. I offered to, please pay my salary for a year, and I will put in the full-time work to figure out a whole bunch of these. And that's what we did. There's going to be a 3rd deck soon, and actually a 4th deck as well. We did a half-size deck for our Korean translation crowdfunding campaign. And this thing is going to be so cool. It's called Deck of Delver's Harmony, and it's 30 some odd characters, and all of the artists are Korean, and all of the characters are from Korean campaigns. So what we found, oh my gosh, it was so cool. We sort of discovered, just through the process of making the deck, some of the differences in tabletop culture between sort of the United States and South Korea. There were some surprising differences in influences that we found, like this type of media that influences character creation between the US and Korea. And I definitely recommend you check it out once it comes out. We're gonna do we're gonna translate it to English. Right now it's only in Korean, but we're gonna translate it to English very soon. And I think it's really neat.
How did you create it in Korean? Like, did you have somebody that took over like that aspect of it? Like,
more or less, yeah.
Okay.
Because
I'm thinking, like, if you haven't translated to English yet, but I assume they gave you something in Korean that you had to figure out in English, then to put it back in Korean. But I guess no, there's like a different step.
So we wrote the drafts of the cards in English, and kind of
okay.
And we had help from our Korean translator. His name is Daniel. He's a really great guy. He did a lot of the writing for the deck, and then he would send us kind of a shorthand of what was going on with each card, and we would help kind of. We more or less did consulting with him to massage certain character archetypes to make sure that they were in the sort of setting friendly, and like because we're presenting the Deck of Delvers is sort of a presentation of the setting as well. So we wanted to make sure that everything was sort of, I don't know, like lore friendly, I suppose you'd say. But he did a lot of the writing for it, and I got to listen in on some of the interviews, and then like the conversations after the interviews through like machine translation. But that's sort of what I'm talking about, and it's sort of in talking with the artists and then seeing the work that was coming out of it. That's where I sort of discovered the differences in sort of tabletop culture between the two countries.
What's can you give me a difference that really stood out to you? Like, what kind of references go into their inspirations?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, all of the people who pledged for the Korean crowdfunding campaign, they play D&D, but D&D is not the most popular tabletop game in South Korea and Japan and sort of East Asia generally. Call of Cthulhu is really popular.
Say that,
yeah. But so even just that, you can see the hidden effects of that in the way that people talk about their characters. Like, here's my character concept. The other thing is like I got a lot more characters that were clearly inspired by anime from South Korea, and that's partially just because tabletop as a hobby is not for as tiny as it is in the United States. It is even more niche in South Korea. So a lot of people who are playing D&D are coming in from other hobbies and are fairly new. We actually went to Seoul to attend a convention and kind of, sort of in the lead up to the crowdfunding campaign. And we didn't meet, I don't think, anyone who had played any other edition than 5th edition. Like, it's such a new hobby there, for a lot of reasons. But yeah, that's just one of them. Is like, the different media that that character concepts come from, is apparent if you look at like the big picture and like the whole list of characters. Is really, really cool.
Well, so why Korea? Like, how did that, like, why was that what you chose to do? Like, that seems like you said, it's a niche thing. It's more niche there than
Yeah.
it is here. Like, why did you hone in on South Korea?
So it was kind of a snowball effect when we released our preview module, when we were just baby developers. Our preview module was the first thing that I ever wrote for like public consumption. Like I'd been a DM for a long time. I've been DMing for more years than I want to admit. But it was the first time that I'd put together anything for everyone else. So after we put it out, Daniel, who ended up being our Korean translator, came into our community, our Discord server, and just started translating the preview module, and also started dropping links to a live stream of the preview module in Korean.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which, like, at the time, this was before the Kickstarter. This was before we knew if this was even going to work. Back then, we said that our goal for the whole endeavor was, I would like 100 people to open the book that I have never met. And that was like, if I can get to that, it will be a success. So to have someone in a country that I had never even thought about visiting before running my writing in live stream was so surreal.
In a different language.
Yeah.
Not even that. Like, put in the work
it's
to
entirely in
it.
Korean. Like, yeah.
That's
so
wild.
we ended up hiring Daniel after the book came out, and we were talking with him for a long time. And first we went to it's a convention called Furry Joa. We went to a convention in Seoul to kind of gauge interest, and we sold the stuff in English just to kind of like get reactions to it.
Sure, yeah.
And we found a fair bit of interest. So part of the reason we decided to do a Korean translation was for the very reason that it's such a small niche there, that it felt like a cool opportunity to give the people who are devoted enough to play it, despite the fact that you really have to be a super fan, give them more content. Like, that was kind of exciting to me.
Sure.
So that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, if the interest came to you, like, you didn't go look for it, it came to you, and then you're like, okay, well, I might as well cater to the group that came to me. Like, why wouldn't you? That seems like a no-brainer. But there, a lot of bigger companies won't even think about doing that until they know that they are a super successful, stable IP already. Like, they won't even bother with that. That tangentially, like you look at somebody, a creator like Mr. Beast, right? Like, he does full dubbing in dozens of languages of all of his videos. Like, he doesn't just do subtitles, he doesn't do whatever. Like, he actually hires actors in the native languages so that his content can be enjoyed by as many people as possible. And obviously you're not going to do that. He had millions and millions and millions of dollars before he even started doing that. But, like, so, like, the barrier of entry is a little bit, higher for you guys. But starting off in that one piece, that one corner of the world that came to you and said, no, we do want this here. We're going to show you that we want this. We're doing something that you never thought was possible. I am taking your content, I'm translating it, and I'm running it here at the other side of the world. Like, that's got to feel amazing. That has to feel amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely does. There's like, the opportunity cost of it is certainly, like, that's the thing. Like, we're not a huge operation. We have an office in Buffalo, New York, and we have 4 people who work in our office, and then we have people scattered elsewhere that we work remotely with. but it's a fairly small operation at Heartleaf Games, and there's only so many hours in the day. So we try to balance growing and kind of establishing our footing as a company with experimenting. I want to. I see tabletop games, specifically tabletop RPGs. I see them as a baby art form, in the same way that kind of video games were and sort of still are in a lot of ways. But especially like the way we are with tabletop games, I believe, right around where video games were in the early '80s, where there's a sort of kind of narrow idea of what a tabletop game is. Most people see a tabletop game as either a fantasy or horror combat simulator. But and we're only just now kind of branching out away from that and kind of tugging at the seams of that with games that don't have robust combat systems, right? Like, and I think that's really exciting. Like, I watch documentaries about video games, and I watch I've been reading a lot about Lord British lately, who's the guy who's responsible for the Ultima series, and I read about his philosophies going into making the Ultima series back in the days when like this was just. It's silly to look at these days because in the early 80s, like what a PC could do was so limited compared to what it can do now.
Right.
But he had a sort of forward-thinking vision about it where he saw the potential of what at the time was just seen as more or less a toy or a pastime. And I see everyone who's making tabletop right now as having the opportunity to be those people, to push the art form forward. There's so much space out there past the fences of what we see that art form as.
Yeah.
And I want to be one of those people.
I mean, just think about like what is tabletop role playing? It's pretend. You're playing pretend with your friends and you're acting and it's like a theater kid's wet dream. It's like it's like the best thing in the world. I'm a theater kid, by the way. Hi. That's me. It's my dream.
I did musicals when I was in high school. Like, I think a lot of DMs are.
Yeah, 100%. I was also an improv comic for a little while, so like that, it's like perfect for me. But it's pretend. It's playing make believe, and when you were a kid, your make believe wasn't always, Knights of the Round or Resident Evil or the zombies attack or the monsters attacking. Sometimes it's house. I want to play house. I'm the dad, and here's our baby, and whatever. Or we're gonna play for race car, and we're race car drivers, and we're like whatever. Like there's RPGs for stuff like that now. Like I actually was developing a while ago, and it's in demo form, a pro wrestling tabletop role playing game. That was a blend between being a person that is a pro wrestler and then being the character on TV. It was like a dichotomy between the two. So like, but it blends it in like is it real? Is it not? Are you the actor of the character, the wrestler? Is that who you are? But kind of not, but it kind of blends it really well. I should work on that again because that I did play a demo of it, and the wrestling match itself was so much fun to do. Like the mechanic actually worked.
Yeah.
I digress. But there's
no, it's really relevant because like it's really funny you bring this up because there is a system for running pro wrestling in the Delver's Guide to Beast World.
How did I miss this? Hold on.
In the index,
number,
if you look at the story, I'm not sure that the page number, but if you look in the index for the Storied Histories League.
Yes, I did see that, but I didn't dive in. I didn't. Okay.
Okay, so I'll go over it real quick. So basically, in the Beast World, there is. So one of the things about the Beast World is that the idea of a D&D adventurer is fairly new. It's only 15 years or so old, and they are in the zeitgeist right now. They're sort of popular. D&D adventurers are like celebrities. And one of the ways that has sort of grown out is with the Storied Histories League, which is they hire, athletes and, thespians to play out fantasy combat, essentially D&D combat, and they have a wrestling promotion that are all D&D characters. And we wrote a system for doing this. The main mechanic of that system is called One Shy. And the idea is you have to miss. You're going to run D&D combat the same way it is in the book, but you want to miss your opponent by one. So because you want it to look real, but you don't want to hurt them, because if you hurt them, like if you wound someone in the ring, like people know when it gets too real and it stops being fun. Yeah, I am really into pro wrestling. I think that it's a fascinating, like, it's a world that I've never seen an analog for in terms of like the business and the theater of it and the athleticism. Like, there's a whole lot of facets to it that are just like a weird combination. And I wanted to bring my love for it to people, and then SHL is kind of how I did it.
We should talk, because I think I think there's money here. And I think you would like what I made too. Like I honestly do. Like I need somebody with the mind to get things to actually happen. But like I took this thing as pretty much as far as I could do it with myself. But it's so funny because like the way I actually did train pro wrestling for a little bit back in 2010 and 2011. I actually
What's your finisher? You got to tell me what your
sharpshooter. I'm a big Bret Hart mark.
Yeah. I love the sharpshooter.
Got my Bret Hart.
Oh, that's so cool.
To Steve, Bret Hitman Hart. Congrats. This was a wedding present from one of my groomsmen.
This is a wrestling podcast now.
Yeah, we're gonna talk wrestling. I also got the winged eagle right here. Like I got a little of everything. But yeah, so I used my wrestling name was Steve Sage. You could find some of my matches on YouTube. I did like, I used to have hair down past my shoulder, like to my shoulders and stuff.
Love it. Perfect.
I was black and green instead of pink and black. It was like a neon green, kind of like the Hurricane.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, the sharpshooter.
I haven't done the Hurricane in a long time.
Yeah, I used to do like a snap mirror to a sliding clothesline, like from the other side.
Awesome.
Like I do that one a lot.
We are losing everyone right now.
No, we're in. Come on, stay with us. But hey, you never know. Maybe Cullen and I are going to be refining and releasing grapplers and glory.
Yeah,
it could happen.
Hey, maybe. I just like anyone who's listening who like is into tabletop and not into wrestling, like you should just like read about read some forum posts about why people like it and let them make the case, because it is so interesting. Like it as like as a D&D fan, like I think you're halfway in. Like it's just so interesting. And like
Dimension 20 just did a crossover, right? Like they just had WWE superstars play in Dimension 20, and it was a pro wrestling themed campaign. It was like, I think it was 6 or 7 episodes, but it was a blast. It was so much fun to watch pro wrestlers like understand TTRP, like understand D&D at that point. Like most of them, one is a veteran, Austin Creed. He's played D&D for years. And I think Kofi had played a couple of times, but Chelsea Green and Bailey were new to the game, but seeing it click for them like is akin to when I am like when my mom in the 90s with The Rock, you know what I mean? Like being like, come see this guy. He's absolutely hilarious. And she's like, what is this? This is wrestling. And then of course you have to like get her out of the room when the bra and panties matches happened in the 90s. Like that was just,
we've come a long way.
Yeah, we've come a long way. But but seeing, I remember her freaking out when Big Show's beating up Mankind and stuff like that. Like there's something there. Like it's at the essence of pretend. Like that's what it is. It's theatrical pretend time, and you're building a system that you built for that, where you're keeping kayfabe but also still gamifying it. Where like I always wondered, like some video games that they're basically fighting games, right? Wrestling games are basically fighting games, and I always, there was a couple of games that came out. It had to have been the SmackDown series, but it was where you would have match ratings, and if you had a back and forth where both of you did your finishers and it went under like a certain amount of time and there was a lot of false finishes, you got a higher rating. It wasn't
Yeah.
all of a sudden it became, oh, we're not just it's not just a fighting game. I'm not just trying to beat my opponent as quickly as possible, do my moves and get to the next fight. Now I have to think about the story that I'm going to tell during the match so that I could get a higher rating, so that I could get more currency, so I can unlock more characters and costumes and moves and stuff like that. It's like I was so happy when that happened because like that's the thing about wrestling. Like when I would play with my toys as a kid, it was never smash them together. It was always like the good guy David versus Goliath and like factions and like all this stuff and like telling the story, cut promos on each other and like
Yeah.
all this fun stuff. And like I do it now like 4 days a week playing D&D. Like that's what it is. It's pro wrestling. I'm playing as a DM, I'm playing like 15 characters and you know, and my players are cutting promos on me and each other and then having a championship match against the BBEG. Like that's it. It's pro wrestling, man. It's
There's
amazing.
I think the culture of like if you want to say like geek culture, I guess. I think the culture of like enthusiasts has changed a lot
Hobby
since
culture.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The culture of like hobbyist like enthusiast culture has changed a lot since the early 2000s when you know sort of obviously there was like a huge stigma against you know wrestling, like wrestling was for dummies, like it's don't you know it's fake, you know. And I think with the popularization of especially like shonen anime, uh, the counter argument in someone's head, I think there are counter arguments that are just sort of passive now. It's like, yeah, it's fake. Like everything you like is fake.
Yeah. Have you been to
You
a
know,
movie like in your life? Guess
have you
what?
read Baki the Grappler? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not a real competition, but
Yeah.
it's that's not where the pleasure of it comes from.
Yeah.
And I think people are starting to understand that fiction is more broad than just a beginning, middle, end story. As comic books become more popular and shonen anime becomes more popular, like there are all these different, there's different media now that makes the case without even knowing for why pro wrestling is special. And even the way we talk about media, like when I was a kid, we didn't talk about media like a superhero movie, for instance, in the same way that I see everyone talk about it now, which is in terms of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody who's a fan of Marvel movies now knows who Kevin Feige is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like when I was a kid, those people still existed, but I was a big Power Rangers fan. I didn't know who like Haim Saban was.
Exactly.
Uh, but that like meta industry analysis of the stuff that you like, that's pro wrestling. Like that's
Yeah.
why it's cool. Like because you can get so deep into it, you can get into like, oh, this person pissed this person off or is popular in the locker room, and that's why they're getting the push now. And like, but the fans
They're
really love
selling
this
the most
guy.
merch. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
but
Like that those discussions are like one of the things that's so energizing about it. It's like so fascinating because there's this tension between, you know, what the promoters want
right.
and what the fans want and what the athletes want. And it's just cool. It's a cool world to be part of. And like, so I'm just, all that's just to say, like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I know why, like, you know, it's beautiful.
They you know, sometimes so like I'll come across like a TTRPG player and when I try to explain to them why pro wrestling, like they say, "Oh, but you know, they know what's going to happen, right?" I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, fine, yeah, they know what's going to happen, but doesn't that impress you more that they know exactly what's going to happen, but somehow it still looks like they don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Not only that, but a really good TTRPG player, there's a fine line of there's the metagamer who is fine. Like I'm not poo-pooing metagaming or like the meta builders or like
Sure. Yeah.
the you know the min maxers. I don't they have their
Theory
place.
crafting. Yeah.
Yeah, they have their place. Um, and then there's the what my character would do. People who take it too far to that side. But then
Mhm.
there's the really good player that has an opportunity during role play to do something to make them win or
Yeah.
to do something that tells a cool story.
Yeah.
For I'll give you an example. there was a combat that was unwinnable, and it was getting our asses kicked. We weren't. It was like you could tell it was we did something bad to get the attention of somebody very strong, and now we're in trouble. And we had just finished burying a barrel of explosive gasoline because we were going to blow up a convoy that was coming through. And we're fighting basically on top of this barrel. And we could have just ran away or surrendered or whatever. But like, I'm thinking, okay, we may not get out of this, but we could have a cool moment. So
yeah.
I ran to the barrel. They didn't know it was buried there. I stood over it with the detonator in my hand. I made like a little copper wire and spark plug detonator. And I was trying to get the dragons, and I was like, every turn that was my turn, I taunted and tried to get them to come to me. We were fighting 3 young dragons and like a dragon like handler. And I was trying to get them to come to me. I was like, if at least two come within melee range of me, I'm blowing up the barrel. Like, and the DM was like, what? Like, yeah, no, like I understand what will happen, but it'll be fucking cool. And my character is a damn the man, anti-establishment, like for the little guy kind of revolutionary. Like, this would be perfect. He would be a martyr. The cause could go on in his name. He would be a hero to people. And then I'm thinking, okay, fine, he's dead. But what if I'm like a guy in the city that heard this story, and now I'm making a new character of a guy that like worships this guy? Like, but I've had other players do shit like that where they come across and they say, okay, this is going to tell a really cool story. This is going to be a lot of fun for everyone to kind of, which is weird because you're not making content out of it. It's just for the like 5 people that are playing, but it's great. It's entertainment. It's so much fun. And you know, I think that more and more people are getting it. Like, more and more people are understanding the value of shared storytelling. And you know, to your point earlier where you were like, there are games that are not just about combat anymore. Yeah, absolutely. There's like, I think there was like a pet shop, or like there was like some sort of pet, I don't know exactly what it was, but I think it was like you're playing somebody's pets and you're doing stuff. Your role play is like what you do when they're not around, kind of.
You're talking about Heckin' Good Doggos, yeah.
Is that what it was? I don't know.
Yeah. That was actually the table next to ours at PAX East.
Okay, well there you go. There you go. That's where. But like that's the thing. It's like there's so much you can do. There's so many gates you can open to let people into this genre. That I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. And people like you and Heartleaf that are putting out stuff that continues to widen the net of people you're going to bring in, is only going to make the industry better. It's only going to make it better. I want to switch gears a little bit before we get to the end of the show. And talk about 2 things. One is what's in the future for Delver's Guide, because you did mention that you do have some other content. You got more Deck of Delvers coming. You have some other species that you're working on. So what is out there? What information is out there? And is there anything that you can kind of hint at coming that maybe people don't know about? Or whatever.
So we did a Kickstarter a little while back for a book called A Summer in Dungeon Town. A Summer in Dungeon Town is my current project. It's what I'm working on right now. It is a campaign book in the Beast World setting. So it's going to be the kind of, if you want a whole game, like start to finish, I'm good blowing it out. So the pitch for A Summer in Dungeon Town is there is a town in the Beast World. Well, to back up just a little bit. In the Beast World, the reason why I mentioned that D&D Adventure is a fairly new concept in this setting. And the reason why is because about 15 years ago, dungeons started appearing, and they would appear anywhere. They would appear in people's basements. They would appear at the bottom of wells in a small town. Anywhere that was sort of underground, space would open up for these dungeons, and monsters would come out and cause problems like they do. So in response to this, people started forming what are called delving crews. The reason for the Delver's Guide is the adventurers in the Beast World are called delvers. So these dungeons appear unpredictably. They appear totally randomly, and what delvers do is they look for leads and then go and investigate. It's almost like a blue collar job.
Yeah, it's like a Monster Hunter of the Week kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So Dungeon Town is the one spot in the entire Beast World where the dungeon, as a metaphysical concept, I guess, reliably appears. There are a whole cluster of dungeons that are constantly appearing and disappearing underneath Dungeon Town, and it's this epicenter of research that people want to figure out why this is happening, because nobody knows. They want to figure out why this is happening, how we could interact with the dungeon. Those researchers they're called dungeoneers, and the campaign takes place all in this town. And the reason why you should play my campaign book is because all of the maps of those dungeons, if you're the DM, they are interconnected. And we have a to scale map of every building in Dungeon Town. It is a perfect as perfect as is fun, representation of an entire town. And we have a map pack that's going to come with the book that has like a player facing map of the whole town. So our vision for how you run this campaign is you start people in the center of Dungeon Town. You say you've just arrived. You spread the map across the table, and then you say, where do you want to go? There are 6 major dungeons in the town, and you can do them in any order. And the module is written such that they scale with your level. The campaign is level 5 to 9.
Oh, that's cool.
And there I don't want to get into spoilers, but like there are reasons why the dungeons get harder if you do them later. And the idea is you spend 3 months, you literally spend a summer in Dungeon Town, sort of figuring out a problem that makes itself known that I'm not going to talk about, and sort of making yourself a local in this town. It's going to be really good, but also this interconnected dungeon thing and this sort of true sandbox has been, to use a Turner phrase, a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
It's not more than I can chew, but it's taking more chewing than I thought when I bit it off.
You're getting it down, but it's a slog.
There are some really, really cool dungeons in a summer in Dungeon Town. There's a dungeon that's modeled after a point and click adventure game called, I don't know if you're on the long shot that anyone's familiar with, The Colonel's Bequest. It's an old Sierra adventure game where you solve a murder. It's like a murder mystery. And it's called it's Dinner at Monster House. You go into a mansion and solve a murder, except you are the murderers and the monsters are trying to figure out that it's you. Cool. That's just one of them. There's a whole bunch of high concept shit like that.
That's fantastic.
And then there's also like straightforward. There's some really, really cool dungeons in this book. And it's going to be really good. I really am proud of this idea, and I think that this campaign module is going to be really special. I promise, as soon as it's done. But we, beyond just the A Summer in Dungeon Town, we have campaign modules that are coming out consistently while I work on the book. We just had one come out called Girls Night Out. We had 3 different transgender writers who all put together one story, and then we compiled them into one module. It's really, really cool. It just came out, I want to say last month. And there's more stuff to come. We're actually, we're running an SHL event in our Discord server right now. And a lot of the characters, the promise that we made for people who are doing that is they can get their characters in our SHL book that we're working on. It's kind of a module and a half, because we want to do more guidance for how to run the SHL if you want to do a campaign, because we had people who were like, oh my god, I love this SHL thing, how do I do a campaign in it? There's only 4 pages about it in the book and I need more.
Makes
but
sense.
Let's see, what else do we have going on? We go to lots and lots of conventions, and we do organized play at conventions. The one we're gearing up to do is Denver in Denver, Colorado. If you want to do organized play, we're going to be debuting a module there and running it live with all the players, and we're writing it, such that you will be in character with all the other groups. Oh, it's going to be so cool. So cool. Like I said, we like to do a lot of weird experiments with the medium. But generally speaking, if you want to check out our stuff, the delversguide.com has all of our stuff. And if you get on our Discord server, discord.gg/beastworld, we do a lot of weird stuff on there too for free. Like this SHL event, it's all free.
I just like
to get people involved.
I always see groups like in like video chats and stuff in there. Like I'm in the Discord. I kind of hang out every now and again in there. You know what I'm always interested in? The art community. Like you have a lot of people that like will draw the characters that they make, or they'll draw characters for each other and stuff. I think that's incredible.
It's my favorite thing about making tabletop for furries is that like they love to. It's like it's an artistic subculture, and you get so much character, and I get to soak it in because like it's kind of fan art of the setting, which is like
exactly
really cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but like you have many different artists that work on the deck of Delvers too. Like you have all different artists that work on things, and so you don't have the same style for everything. So you can kind of find something that fits more for you. You have like more like chibi anime style stuff, and then you have more like realistic like lion people or whatever. That's fantastic. I'm so excited to hear about. And are you going to be at PAX West this year?
We're not sure yet. We're still trying to figure out.
I'm going to my first ever PAX West. It's going to be our first ever one for Indie Rift, and I would love to see you there. If you go, we'll do something cool.
For sure, yeah. I do know that we're doing our best to get into PAX Unplugged. We would love to go to PAX Unplugged.
That place is awesome. You would love it there.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
But if you stay on our Discord server, and to your listeners, like if you join, just please leave our pings on, because we only ping very, very infrequently, only when I promise it's something you want to see. And we use it to announce stuff like that, like what conventions we're going to be at and like what we're doing. So yeah, that's awesome. A good way to keep abreast.
Well, you already told everyone how they could find you and follow you. That's usually what I do at the end of the show. I ask that. But all those links will be in the show description. So folks, just scroll down a little bit. You'll find it there. And if you want to support Indie Rift, you could do so on our Patreon. We have a little Patreon. It's a humble little Patreon, but if you join for just $1, you get bonus content, and you get access to our Discord, where we do have a ton of game developers, like former guests in there, just chatting about video games and pop culture, and really honestly becoming really good friends. Like we have people in there from all over the world that have become very close friends of ours over the years, and you could join us. You could come hang out with us, and we do appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to plug before we say goodbye on this episode of DevDive Side Table?
No. I really appreciate you having me on. To your listeners, like if you want to check us out, please feel free to do so. We have a really cool community, and there's free stuff on our website if you want to check out the setting without committing. But I would love to hear what you think. We harp about this constantly, but like if you download something that we have or you buy our book, please send me an email. My email address is in the book, and just let me know what you think. That's what I want to plug.
My only request is to get somebody on Roll20 support. I want to get all your stuff in Roll20, because I had to hand make all of the species, and let me tell you, as fun as it was, I would have sure been happier not to have to do that.
I promise we'll work on it.
Let's get it done, man. Like I'm in. I'll help. I'll do it. I'll help you. Listen, Cullen, this was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. I appreciate you doing this so much. I learned a shit ton, and we have more to talk about off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been DevDive Side Table. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you watching. And as always, thank you for watching. Wow. And as always, please be excellent to each other.